Welcome everyone to this ClickCreate Artist Spotlight. This week we have María Caballero. What inspires you to create?
I think the everyday interactions that we have with people who are closest to us are so richly dense, and there's so much that is left unsaid and so much that is sort of left ununderstood as well. Wittgenstein called it family resemblance, that sort of step ladder that relates words to each other, like long lost cousins or odd aunts, even siblings, right? Can be quite sometimes bizarre that we're related. I think that words happen that way too. I love going through the sources. Today I was finishing up a piece for Perry Photos, and it really takes me a long time to sort of put that icing on the cake and to find that last word, that last line that I know is not quite right, but I want to use the word. For example, today I was thinking of, gather luggage, pick up luggage, and finally the word that I picked was secure my luggage, because if I was trying to get at sort of the lack of security in many of these processes that we take for granted. And so, of course, sometimes as a poet, when you use a word, it's because you want people to pay attention at the things it's not saying. That took up a good part of my morning until I finally figured out which was the right word. That's what I love, like that moment when you commit to the choice of language.
What words describe your artistic style?
I would say my style is about words, so it's a really interesting question. I'm a literary artist, I'm a poet, I'm a writer. I also write nonfiction and fiction, and my artistic practice incorporates language, trying to experiment with it, trying to get at new meanings, but also as a means of cultural preservation, also as a means to connect people with classic forms of literature. Words are the essence of my artistic practice. Everything is rooted in, I would say, the sort of hashing out and teasing out of the meanings and connections between words.
What are your goals as an artist?
I would love for people to encounter poetry in new ways and to rediscover it and to realize that they love it and they actually can't live without it, and that it's not intimidating, and that it's something that can add a lot to their life, to their everyday lives. Much in the way that, images, the dominion of the image is something that we accept. We see it in magazines, we see it, even in bookstores. We're looking at covers, photographs that get sent. But I would love for people to also engage with text on a daily basis and to read more and to read closer, to reread. My projects mostly encompass one or sometimes all of these goals.
What advice can you offer to aspiring artists?
For me, I have to really remember when I was getting started as a poet, which it took me a long time to trust my voice as a poet. I like to play around with grammar. I like to swallow articles and, do funny things with punctuation sometimes, and they can look like typos. And for a long time, I was worried that, editors were going to think that, oh, this woman doesn't, know how to use a period or a question mark. But it took me a while and enough going through the obstacle course of rejection after rejection after rejection, to get to the point where, eventually you find someone that gets your work and starts publishing it. It's that tidal wave moment where all of a sudden, of course, lots of rejections keep coming in, of course, but you start getting the acceptances and your books start getting published. And when you trust your voice, it's such a powerful moment, because then you really lean into your weirdness, which is what makes your work unique. If Samuel Beckett or Annie Ernaux, all these writers that I look up to so much, hadn't trusted their weirdness, then we wouldn't have these crazy Nobel Prize winning corpuses of literature that did something that no one else had done, and it took decades for their work to be recognized. But thank God that they, were crazy enough to continue.
What were your goals for this ClickCreate edition?
So I usually agree to projects when I have a poem that I want to share. And when Bats wrote me asking if I wanted to be part of his curation, I didn't say anything at first. And then I thought, I read a little bit about ClickCreate. I mean, I knew about you guys, but I didn't know that much, to be honest. There's so much going on all the time that it's hard to really feel like you have it all under your belt. And when I realized that you guys had such a strong community and that there was this opportunity to get poems in the hands of all these people who maybe had never thought to collect a digital poem, and it would likely be their first, and who knows if not their last, then I was really excited. And I have a really short, pithy poem in my new book that I think can stand a quick reading, but also a deeper reading. And so I thought it was just the perfect work because it allows itself to be, digested in a social media time frame. I told Bats, all right, I'm in. I wrote him that I'm like, I want to be in because I have the perfect poem for this. And it's true. If I don't do it with this poem guy, many people are not going to read it. Now potentially hundreds of people are going to read this poem thanks to the fact that you guys are inviting me to be part of this project. So thank you.